But now, look, before we go into the sport business, I want to talk to my rugby mates on the Gold Coast. We've got a bit to say about sport. Bobby Honan, good evening to you and the team. Bob Honan, of course, a dual rugby international, magnificent stepping centre, played 2 tests for Australia in rugby, 89 games for the Rabbitohs in their vintage years, 3 times for New South Wales, 2 tests for Australia. Bobby Honan played 2 tests at halfback, a dual rugby international. They've all retired to the Gold Coast, and men of rugby, and they send me say hello, and I'm saying hello to you. We will catch up, Bob, you and your mates. And look, I must apologise because we had a featured segment last week in sport on Alan Garside, whom I believe was Australia's oldest living Socceroo, born November 29, 1926. But thanks to David, one of my viewers and a researcher, he tells me that his old maths teacher at James Roos Agricultural High School was Frank Parsons, one of the founding teachers, by the way, who set up the school. And Frank played for the Socceroos, but he was born 5 months before Alan, the 18th of June 1926. So Frank Parsons is the oldest living Socceroo, former school teacher and school principal, who now lives at Macleay Valley House in Fredericton via Kempsey. Frank, good evening to you. And good to see Marcus Stoinis back in an Australian cricket team. I don't know how Australia can pick a team for 20 overs or 50 overs and leave this bloke out. He does have gears. But a tragic week following the death of Alex Pullin, the young figure skater Ekaterina Alexandrovskaya was found dead in Russia at the age of 20. She was born in Russia but partnered Australia's first Indigenous Winter Olympian, Harley Windsor. Katya, as she was known, was granted citizenship for Australia in 2017, and she and Harley made the Winter Olympics in 2018. She and Harley were the world junior champions in 2017. They were Australia's first global figure skating winners. And Katya allegedly fell from a window and left a note in Russian, which means, I love. Well, the world of rugby league is full of change. Dean Pay, a good man, has left Canterbury. Steve Carney's left the Warriors. And this week, the very successful Paul Green departed North Queensland. He may be headed for the Broncos, who are in absolute disarray. The coach, Anthony Seibold, who should never have been given a 5-year contract. No one should be given a 5-year contract. He said after the departure of Wayne Bennett that he was going to change the culture of the club. Well, he sure as hell has done that. They're in 14th place. And in a poll of the fans, 95% said it's the worst Broncos side in the club's history. Under Seibold, they've won 14 of 35 games. The answer to the problem is simple. Outlined by the former Broncos and Australian Rugby League centre Chris Johns, he played 171 games for the Broncos, played 56 for St George, 10 State of Origins, 9 tests. He also worked in the administration of the Broncos and the Melbourne Storm. I wonder what he would know. These sorts of people are ignored. In layman's terms, Chris just says what I would say. Clean the joint out. Chris joins us from our studio in Brisbane. Chris, good to talk to you. Shouldn't the mob that gave this bloke 5 years be the first to go?
Well, you would think so, Alan. You know, like, it's not as if they're new to the block. You know, they've been there for, you know, the CEO's been there for 10 years, and you know, the same recruitment committee, the same roster management committee, they've been there for 3 or 4 years. You know, so the same people. It's not just the coach. You know, there's 3 or 4 people. You know, the CEO sits down with Darren Lockyer, who's a recruitment director, sits down with Peter Nolan, and sits down with coaches. You know, and they were sitting down with Wayne Bennett, and all of a sudden it was Wayne Bennett's fault. So he went, and now it's all Anthony Seibold's fault. So, you know, I don't think Anthony's entirely to blame. He's got to take some blame. Yeah. But, you know, the foundations of the club, you know, that front office, it needs a shake-up. It needs to be...
a stack of them.
Needs to be reviewed.
Have you ever seen a coaching team as big as all of that? No wonder they don't know what's going on. Who is responsible, Chris, for these big contracts over a long year period? I mean, they should go.
It's the highest paid football department on the planet.
There you are.
You know, there's no other rugby league football department that gets more money than the Brisbane Broncos.
Amazing.
The CEO's on the largest contract ever seen in rugby league. You know, like, so this fat cat, you know, highly inflated wages, long-term contracts is just crazy, and it's a culture that's crept in there, and it's something that has to be stamped out straight away.
But Chris Seibold, in a way, must be laughing. I mean, even though the club's being decimated, he's a winner. What does he get if they pay him out?
Oh, well, rumours are, Alan, you know, I haven't seen what his contract is, but rumours are it's $1 million a year, so that's a $5 million contract.
Holy
and any CEO that would sign a 5-year, multi-million-dollar contract and not have clauses in there on performance is just, it's criminal. It's
to an unproven coach.
Corporate negligence.
Then what do you get about this virtual confession of mediocrity? After last weekend, they've told Seibold, well, if you win 5 of the last 10 games, you'll stay. I mean, good luck. They play Melbourne at home, Cronulla at home, South Sydney away, Canberra away, St George at home, the Roosters away, and on current performance, they won't win any of them.
Alan, it's been like that all year, but I'm sick of waiting for the next train crash.
Yep.
They're talking about what if they lose next week, or what if the form's on the board. Look at the result last week, 48 points leaked against the Tigers. And massive losses all this year. Like, we've had every time there's a loss, when they lost to the Titans, they said, wow, this is it. We can't get any lower, but we continue to get lower. I'm just over it. And, it's at the moment, it's not to be blaming the coach or the players.
A lot of them.
You've got to blame the club.
Yep,
you've got to have an independent review. And I think they're scared of an independent review.
They are. Chris, what do you have to do to get sacked after you're down 26-0 at half-time against the Tigers? What do you have to do to get sacked?
Yeah.
What?
No, mate, exactly right. It just needs a massive clean-out, and they keep hiding. They had an annual general meeting today. It was just an absolute joke where shareholders, I was online trying to ask questions, and the questions weren't answered. They dodged around the questions. And I just wish the AGM would have been in a typical town hall where we could have had a really robust, strong debate.
They would have pulled the roof off.
It's easy to dodge.
I know. Well, what about this chairman, Carl Morris? Carl Morris, sorry, what were we going to say?
It's so easy to dodge in a virtual AGM meeting, But Carl Morris, he's got to be held to account. He's there. He's been there over 2 years now, nearly 2 years, and it's just they're not up to it. We need to get some people, some outsiders in here that understand rugby league, understand business, and make a review of this thing and get back to the shareholders. News Limited are a major shareholder. They must be horrified with these results.
Well, what's happening to the finances?
Well, today the AGM was reported, so it was run the last financial period for them was December, so it was last year. So there's no financial results at hand at the moment with the results of COVID-19 and those sorts of things. But I think the COVID scenario has really hurt the finances of the game in general. And if you look at the Broncos, I think even if COVID wasn't here, I don't think the crowds would be here either because of the performance that have been on the field. So COVID's probably going to cover it up a bit for what from the poor performance and what financial impact that's going to happen on the club.
Chris, I've got to say they're lucky to have people like you who've got the guts to speak out, because unless people like you who've got a stake, you've worked there, you've played there, and there are many people who echo your sentiments, and we can only hope that the Broncos listen. So thank you for talking to us tonight. Good to talk to you. Keep at it, Chris. You've showed some guts, which is a bit unfamiliar in this world, I have to tell you. There he is, Chris Johns, a brilliant Australian player. I mean, after they were demolished on Friday night, by the way, they had Saturday and Sunday off. They then called in on Monday to train. I think they were off today. Then they're training tomorrow, which seems to me that nothing much will have changed from last Friday. So this Friday, the Broncos go out to be swallowed up by the Melbourne Storm. They might do well if they haven't been coached this week. You see, I have a theory about all this. It's better to be not coached than badly coached. There you are. That's Chris Johns.